That's how we own it.
What's up, family? I'm your girl, Tamika D, Mallory.
And it's your boy, Mysonne, the general.
And we are hosts of Street Politicians, the place where the streets and politics meet. We have such a show today with so many.
We got a show.
So many powerful individuals and things we have to talk about. And so I do not want to have a long introduction today, if that's okay with you. You know, I think
listen, man, we got a long show. We got a lot of people who you need to hear from. Some good topics. Our friends, some people that we just respect. So we don't got to talk long.
We don't have to talk long. So you're okay with that?
I'm okay.
Because you said I tell you what to do, and then they said,
yes, Mom.
Bullying.
Yeah, y'all just be bullying me. The whole look, y'all don't understand. This whole thing is a bunch of women in here.
And there's men. There are men in the room.
Today, we happen to outnumber. But for the most part, I'm bullied.
Oh, are you trying to like get your message across to the world?
This is a SOS. You see they laughing because they know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be like, yo, in the street, like I'm like a G. Like y'all can't treat me like this.
We'll just make you better.
Y'all people crazy.
Whatever. We just make you better. So I think we can just jump right into my thought of the day.
What is your thought of the day?
You want to know what my thought of the day is? My thought of the day is that when you know you're going to talk too much, don't talk too much in the beginning, talk later. So I already thought about it, and I think we should go right into our guest.
Lord, listen to me. That's a good thought of the day, man. So we're going to go straight into the guests. Yes. Y'all make sure that y'all tune in.
Yeah.
That's how we own it.
21 years ago, a gentleman that is coming to the show today put out an album called Shyne that was historic. I mean, I don't know how many millions of downloads now. At that time, it would have been purchases. It would have been record sales, right? Millions
and CDs.
That Shyne was able to accomplish here in America. Someone that we love and respect. And I don't know too many Black people that don't say Shyne was the absolute man, and he still is. He is the 10th opposition leader for the House of Representatives in Belize. After completing a 10-year sentence for an incident that happened in a New York City club, he was deported to Belize. People thought he would never make it back to the stateside, but he is here. He's been coming back to America and working with government officials and community leaders to try to bridge a gap between his country and this country. And we are super excited to have Shyne with us today. Also today, we're talking to Dr. Lilia Solano from Colombia, who does peace work and fights for justice in Colombia, working specifically with young people. She has been acknowledged by the United States for her peace work in Colombia, and we're going to have a conversation with her today, this humanitarian, this activist. We're going to be talking to her about the issues in Colombia and how it relates to what we deal with and what we fight for right here in the United States. So we have two really powerful guests coming up today, and we decided to cut down some of the pieces of our regularly scheduled programming because we really don't want to rush these interviews. We want to get really into it. And I certainly want to hear what Brother Shyne has to say.
So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one.
That's how we own it.
So once again, we are joined by another one of our friends.
Another friend.
Someone who I respect. You know, we came through the ranks together through hip hop, and just to watch his evolution from a hip hop artist is just phenomenal. He is the 10th opposition leader of the House of Representatives in Belize, the former whip. Mm-hmm. He sits on so many different stages and levels of government in Belize. Yeah. And he's a dope rapper. My brother, my friend, Jamal Shyne Barrow. How you doing today, King?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that drum roll. A wonderful introduction, my
yes,
brother.
Man.
I appreciate it, Tamika.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
How you feeling, man? You know, it's
always great to be in New York City. This is my second trip. You know, I'm here.
This is only your second trip?
Yeah. I came in August.
Wow.
I went back to Belize to get back to work, and then I came back to the United States on Friday, and then I came to New York City on Sunday night. And I was, to meet with Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin and Congressman Series, who is the chairman of the House of Representatives Western Hemisphere Committee. I have a few other meetings scheduled. Yeah.
So you out here doing big political things
on behalf of Belize.
That's right.
Certainly I commend you and Mice for the work that you guys do, serving your country and your communities. And there's no difference in what I'm doing. I really think it's all about service. So whether or not you are a politician or a street politician, the purpose is service and helping people and making the society that we live in better. So, Mice and I used to do that in our raps. And it's really no difference. When I first got into politics, I used to go to every rally and, watch the speakers speak. And I used to laugh to myself because I said, I used to perform in front of tens of thousands of people.
Right.
And, because it's an art, it's a method, it's a rhythm. But the difference is for them, maybe, I don't know what their purpose is because, politicians can be scurvy and lack ethics and morals and honor. But for me, there was always purpose when I was rapping. If you listen to my first album, the intro, the first thing I said was, Dear America, please save me. I'm only what you made me, young and crazy. Build schools instead of prison, and I'll stop living the way I'm living. Teach me a craft or a trade, and I wouldn't be on the block every day serving that. Yay. The reason I mentioned that stanza right there.
Those is bars right there, though.
No, that was Dear America.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm just saying, I'm the embodiment of that as a member of the House of Representatives. That's my platform. That's what I fight for every day, to create a better reality for the disenfranchised and the disinherited. So the transition is seamless because basically what I was rapping about, I was giving a voice to the voiceless. Now as a member of the House of Representatives, I am responding to that voice because I still hear that voice because I was that voice. And so I'm very in tune and pay keen attention to those voices, and I want to change the reality so those voices don't have to make those complaints.
So this is dope. You know what I'm saying? Watching you evolve, coming from where we come from, both of us changing our perspectives and understanding our calling and our purpose is to do something higher. Music is the foundation. It was our way of voicing our struggles. It was our way of describing the pain in our community. So watching you, seeing that, and just understanding what it is for me, is commendable. But there are a lot of kids, right? That's probably 16 and 17. It's like, who's Shyne? I've heard Shyne, I've heard some of his, but who is he? I want you to give like a brief synopsis of from your time getting signed until now, so people can kind of understand. Just brief. I don't want you to go through the whole thing, but just give a synopsis, a little bit of a story, a little bit of history, so that they can understand exactly who you are. Because I know the full Shyne. Like, we was in the studio, we was everything, so I know the full Shyne. But just give them a little.
And usually on our show, we get upset because our segments are so short with our guests. You would be the first guest that we actually are like, let's get deep into your life.
Because you deserve
that.
I'm honored. I'm honored, and it's a privilege. I'm a kid from Belize. My mom immigrated from Belize, which is in Central America, paradise, back in the 80s. And, I was just an immigrant kid, single mother that was fortunate enough to sign to Bad Boy Records back in 98. After B.I.G. passed away and Mace became religious and the Locks went to Rough Riders, basically it was, Shyne. I was like, I would say maybe Kobe Bryant. I don't know what rookie to really describe it, but everything was really on my back, and there were a lot of expectations. But I was very fortunate to get it together. Had some great friends such as Mice, gave me some great learning lessons I'll never forget. you know, being from Brooklyn, I think it's just a New York thing, but certainly Brooklyn got a lot of confidence, overconfident, super confident. And I had one of the most humbling experiences. And Puff used to have a restaurant called Justin's. And, you know, I was young, 19 years old, you know, new millionaire, you know, driving 600s and, you know, Rollies and, you know, that era of living. And, you know, so we were in the parking lot of Justin's, and it was like, listen, you know, Mice is better than you. And I'm like, and so we start rapping, and he smoked me. And
Wow.
I say all that to say that humbling experience allowed me to work harder and to dig in and to realize that it wasn't about the material things. It was really about the purpose. And the purpose was being a voice for all my friends that were still in Brooklyn, still struggling, still having a difficult life, and really giving them a platform and giving our story a platform.
That was when rap was rap.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
when you had to battle. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like Shyne, like he says, he's being honest. He was the top person.
Yeah.
Like everybody in the hood was hearing, Shyne just got this $1 million record deal.
Yeah,
He's the man.
Yeah.
Yo, he's the next Biggie. Everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm hungry. I'm coming from the block. I ain't
Yeah.
got nothing. I got holes in my shoes. You know, my
Yeah.
man Tone picked me up off the block.
Yeah.
And you see Shyne. He out there, him and Nori's just rapping.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
think
I'm
you got a deal after that,
yeah,
right?
like I literally got signed because that's what it was. It's like you actually had to compete.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
You didn't have to shoot each
you
other.
didn't have to shoot each other. You had to
Yeah.
rap. And everybody in the industry, and then I was like, this is my time. It's now or never for
Yeah,
me.
but so like, how does that work? Like, so then, because now if you have a battle and one person wins the other, then the teams kill each other. So what?
Is it really like that right
Not
now?
really. No, I don't.
Come on, I think
Not
This is
battle.
very,
no,
very
battle rap is
dangerous.
battle rap right now is one of the biggest form of hip hop. Like,
Okay, so
shout
this
out
is
to
a
my
different
brother
world
Goods,
that-
Loaded
that's not what
Lux,
I'm
Murder
talking
Movie.
about
You talking
then.
about this? Yeah. Now you talking about real beef. Like beef now, beef has
It's different
transferred.
from battle rap.
Yeah, it's battle rap and beef is
Okay,
two
well,
different
shoot, I have
things. So
to
now
ask
people are
that.
getting signed based off beef. You get in the beef, you put it on the record,
Yeah.
you talk about how you shot at somebody and they give you $1 million. No. Before it was actually the skill level of battle and who came up with
Educate me.
the real punchlines and who came up. And we was gladiators, man.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, and we grew a respect. We became really good friends. Like I would be in
Definitely.
the studio with Shyne.
Respect to Tone and to
Yep.
Nigel and to, you know, the guys that we know from back in that era. So 21 years ago, on September 26th, for all of you young bucks out there, young whippersnappers, 21 years ago, on September 26th, I put out my first album,
That's right.
Shyne, eponymous debut album, Shyne, and sold over 1 million records. Was number 2 on the rap Billboard, R&B Billboard, and yeah.
Who was number one?
I think Nelly.
Okay.
Oh man, Nelly
Yeah, Nelly was-
was a nightmare. I don't know what they was doing. Like every week they was selling 200,000 records for like a year straight.
Yeah, it
I've
was out
never
of
seen
control.
anything like that in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, that's who I am. I put out another album also, Godfather Buried Alive. That was the number 1 R&B rap album in 2004. You know,
And why was it called Godfather Buried Alive?
because I was buried alive. You know, for the younger generation, you know, I had spent about 10 years in prison because of an unfortunate incident in a club where, you know, someone was trying to kill my friends, kill me, and I defended my friends. And unlike some of the young rappers today who have no morals and no ethics and absolutely no integrity, for me, you know, and for Mice and for the generation that we come from, that's everything. You know, if you don't have integrity, you have nothing. So I refuse to cooperate and try to get my friends in trouble to get myself out of trouble. You know, and so I had to pay my debt to society, you know, because I did have an unlicensed gun, but I was defending myself. You know, I wasn't causing any trouble. And I put out another album. I was fortunate to do a distribution deal with Def Jam during that time, and we put out Godfather Buried Alive, went number 1. Only Tupac was the only other person to do that. Yeah, and here I am now, over 40 million records sold as a writer, publisher, and performer. You know, I did Usher We won a Grammy for that album, Confessions. They called me while I was in Clinton, Denimora, same place Tupac was.
Would you and Tupac was there at the same time?
No,
I was about to say. Wait,
you might be from that young generation
He
too.
died in 96.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, no, before you. Yeah, because I was about to say when you said that, it just made
No,
me think.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
But yeah. So
I'm gonna say no
yeah.
way.
So we won a Grammy for Usher, Confessions remix, which I recorded in the yard in Clinton, Denimora. I had to go to the box for that because I was pulling a lot of fast ones on Governor Pataki. He was the governor back then. So that's who I am. I'm considered a hip hop legend for you young guys. It sound better if Mike said it than
It's the truth,
if
man.
I would say it.
He's a hip hop legend, man. He's somebody who turned his passion and his pain and his trauma and then came out even after being honorable. And I say this all the time. Like he said, it's about integrity and morals, and this is what we stood on. And rather than involve somebody else and get somebody else in trouble for things that we've done, we took responsibility for our own situations and we handled that. We paid our debts to society and we came out, and that's legendary for me. And the skill level that you possess, and then seeing that you came home, right? And I know it's hard because you come home and people have this expectation for you to stay the same person. They want you to be the show, Shyne busts his gun, he this and that, and to come home, evolve, and say, nah, it's, and change that. Knowing that you can grab onto that whole energy and live off of that, but saying to yourself, nah, I'm gonna change that, and I'm gonna utilize what y'all celebrate me for, and I'm gonna change the perspective. I'm gonna make sure that kids that's 19 and 20 don't do the same thing that I did. I'm gonna lead them into a different direction, and that's legendary.
That's right.
That in itself is legendary. So right now, what's your position again? You are the 10th?
Well, I was an opposition leader of the House of Representatives, the 10th. I've been succeeded recently by another member of the House of Representatives, but I'm still a member of the House of Representatives. I sit on the Foreign Affairs and National Security and Education House committees, to name a few. I represent the great people from Mesopotamia constituency, and my constituency is filled with young Shynes who, due to a lack of financial resources, a lack of, family structure, just disinherited, disenfranchised. So for me, every time I go to the House of Representatives and I stand up in the House, I'm fighting for, to eradicate poverty, to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, to create a system of the ability to ascend. Right now it's rich or poor. There's no working class, no middle class, no upper middle class. And so those are the things that I'm fighting for in Belize. And so certainly when I come to the States, it's to meet with my counterparts in Congress and Senate and the Governor's House, so that we could build a stronger relationship with Belize, and we could get more investment in Belize and more of a recognition of Belize, so that those young, girls and boys can have the opportunity that I had in the States. Because I came from Belize to the States when I was about 8 years old, and I always feel guilty that the opportunities that I had growing up as a Belizean American, my people in Belize don't have, or at least not enough of them have.
Yeah.
So my purpose and commitment is to create opportunities so that girls and boys from those impoverished communities, can be able to thrive.
Yeah. So first of all, it sounds a lot like America, because we're quickly approaching a place where it is the rich and the poor, right? Like the middle class is really being gutted by all of what I'm sure you watch happening from there to here. And of course the pandemic has done nothing but made it worse, but I want to go backwards a little bit so that we can come back to what your purpose is there in Belize. But I want to just, because I know there are so many people that want to understand what happened. So it's time for you to be released from prison. And do you know already, as you're getting to the point of release, that you're going to be deported? Or
well, the way I got deported, they actually had me down as an American citizen. But being incarcerated is a nightmare. No matter how, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. You know, so enduring that nightmare becomes unbearable at times. And so I wanted to just go back to Belize. And there was a exchange that they had on the books where, you know, they would send you back to your country based on certain criterias before your time.
Okay.
So you could serve your time there. And so once I did that, that's when they realized that I was a Belizean citizen, right? I was a permanent resident, you know, but when I went into the system, as an American citizen. So I knew I would have been deported. When the time came for me to be deported, you know, I had a bunch of people telling me, no, you know, let's get a lawyer, let's fight it. And I refused. I just wanted to be free. You know, I didn't want to sit in an immigration cell for another day.
Right. Not 2 years. Forget about that.
I just wanted to be free. So when the time came, I willingly said, please, you know, let me go. Let me go to my home. That's where I was born. I'm okay with that. And if it's God's will that I return to the United States, that'll happen when it happens. I just want to be free.
How long ago was that?
13 years ago.
13 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so now when you're in Belize, how does politics become your passion?
Well, you know, when I first went back to Belize, I wasn't interested in politics. I was just interested in being free. But interestingly enough, everything that I did then is consistent with what I'm doing now. When I landed, after, you know, my mom and my dad and family met me at the airport, the first thing I said was, take me to the children's home, take me to the foster home, take me to wherever the troubled kids are. I want to go speak to them now. They're like, now? I'm like, yeah, now. So I didn't go get anything to eat. I didn't go check into my hotel, nothing. I went from the airport to the children's home and to the troubled youth home. So service was always on my mind.
Right.
Giving back was always on my mind. Using myself as an example, as a deterrent as to what not to do so you don't get yourself in trouble as a young, you know, boy or girl, and as an inspiration as to how you could overcome and endure and have integrity and character once you do face an obstacle. So that's what I was doing. You know, I would go to the prisons and I would try to speak to the incarcerated, you know, women and men and boys and girls to stop recidivism and, you know, to try to encourage them to transition when they get out, to be productive citizens. So that's what I was doing. I was doing a lot of charity work, but I wasn't doing it for politics. I was just doing it to be a humanitarian. And that's just the way I grew up. That's just what you do. You know, once you get there, you help everybody else. And so I was traveling. I was in North Africa, Egypt, Israel, Paris, all over the world. And I came to Belize for my mother's 60th birthday. And
so you were traveling as a humanitarian?
No, I was just traveling.
You were just traveling the world.
Yeah, I wanted to be free.
Okay, because you were being free.
Yeah.
It's part of the freedom process.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So you know, when I was in Belize, I did those things.
Right.
But you know, my life wasn't to be Mother Teresa. I wanted to be free. So yeah, I do that when I come home, but I need to travel the world.
That's right.
I want to just get on a plane and just go. I just want to be free. So I came back to Belize for my mom's 60th birthday. And, you know, a friend of mine, you know, she was a senator, you know, very strong political person. Her name is Julia Timbrow, Senator Timbrow. She is the one that said to me, you know, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I'm just traveling, just being free, just, you know, enjoying my life. And she's like, man, you know, it's a lot going on here in Belize and, you know, things are about to change. Like it's going to be a transition. You have a new set of leaders that are coming up and I'm not really confident in them. You know, you ever thought about getting involved? Why don't, you know, what are you doing out there? Like, you know, I don't see you making any records. I don't, like, what's going on? Why don't you come back here? Like, we need you, you know, come back here, go to law school, you know, get involved in the community like you did when you first came out. And I was like, you know, I never thought about being anything other than a musician, you know, other than an entertainer, an entrepreneur in music. But when she told me that, you know, I was like, okay, I hear you. And every time I would go to Belize, I would spend time in these communities that I serve now. And when you would see the poverty, when you would see the burdens, when you would see the challenges, the obstacles, like there's people that live in a place called like London Bridge where they got a bunch of crates and you got to walk on crates and there's just water all around. People that live in a house that they made with plywood and they put like, they don't even have zinc. They don't even have a roof.
That was the original crate challenge right there.
Yeah, right? So when you see people living like that, I'm like, you know, whatever I've been through, whatever losses I've taken, whatever devastations I've suffered, at least I had an opportunity to make millions of dollars and sell millions of records and fly on private planes and, you know, accomplish my dream as a musician. And what do they have? And I felt, as I felt when I first got off the plane, that responsibility to do something and to give something to my people. I said, you know what? That's what I need to do. I don't need to be in Paris, you know, with Jay and with Drake and, you know, being an entertainer. I need to be in Belize with these people that are suffering because I have the vision. You know, I have the desire to make their lives better. Like, that's what I want to brag about. I don't want to brag about a Wraith or a $50 million Airbus. I want to brag about transforming Belize and creating a climate so that there could be opportunity for success for these kids the same way I had it. And that's when, you know, 7 or 8 years ago, I said, you know what? Time for me to go back home. I didn't go to law school. I got into foreign investment and I just became a community servant. You know, I was like the vice chair of the constituency and I just started getting into education funding for kids that couldn't afford to go to school, you know, parenting classes, because when you look at the crime, a lot of these kids that are committing crimes, they come from broken homes. Either their fathers were committing crimes or, you know, their moms were addicted to drugs or, you know, come from, you know, just very, very broken, you know, family structures. So I would do things like that, you know, leadership classes, entrepreneurship classes, small business development, because I didn't get into it to be famous or to be rich. I got into it to lead and to serve and to be able to have the power to encourage my colleagues. Let's get together. And, you know, we recently celebrated our 40th birthday in Belize. The next 40 years has to be better. You know, I don't know if we've done enough in the last 40 years. I think not. But the culture has to change. We need different leaders. We need leaders that are not trying to be, oh, I'm the minister, or oh, I'm from the House of Representatives, but what are you doing for your people? What are you doing to change the lives of Belizeans and make it better?
It has to be bigger than the title.
Has to be. But unfortunately, like Senator Timbrell told me 8 years ago, it's too many of those politicians. And so, you know,
How long did it take you to become, to win your election? Like,
well, I started the work 8 years ago.
8 years ago, and then
because someone asked me that today. I don't believe in, you know,
it's all continuous.
When's the election?
Right.
Okay, that's when I'll get in.
Yeah.
No, I believe you serve your community. You want to be elected, serve.
Right.
And so I started serving. People would tell me, you're wasting your money. You know, you're doing it too early. You know, my predecessor, they said that, you know, he would never retire. They said that they have to bury him in the House of Representatives, so I'm wasting my time. And I said, you know, it doesn't matter because I'm still helping people. So whether I get elected or not, you know, I'm blessing people. So, you know, I'll be okay. It's not about getting elected. I'd like to, because then I could, you know, take my actions and put it into policy and
Right.
put it into legislation and create a system. See, for me, I don't want to be a neo-colonial master. You know, I don't want my people to be dependent on me or any politician. So I want to create systematic change so you don't need to go to a politician.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going to outlive me. And the society that we live in is going to work for everyone, not just the people that vote for me or not just the people that I like. So I started doing that 8 years ago. So in 2020, they had the elections, and the political party that I'm from had about 20 or 21 seats. We lost every seat except 5. And that says to me, it was a complete swing, tsunami. Had I not done the work for the last 7 to 8 years, I would have lost too, because people want to change. They just want to do something different. We tired of those guys. But I did so much work that, you know, people, man, we can't do that to him.
Exactly.
You know, he been there for us. Like, if he did all this for us for the last 8 years, imagine when he gets elected. And that's what I've been doing with my own resources, because as an opposition member of the House of Representatives, you get nothing. You know, if I told you how much we made, you'd laugh. And we don't, you know, we get like $20,000 US for constituency development. That's nothing. You can't help, you know, but a few people with that. So I find the resources the same way I've been doing for the last 8 years. And I speak on the policies and the legislation that needs to take place so that there can be systematic change, you know. So
It's phenomenal, man. Just listening to you is purpose. You know, when you find your purpose, it's not driven by accolades, it's not driven by position. It's driven by just doing the work. You know,
absolutely.
Like we say all the time, our goal is that we not needed no more. Like they said, so what do you want? We want that the fight that we fighting is we win and we don't have to do none of this.
That's
work.
right. Amen.
You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to be full-time activists. We don't want to be out here risking our lives and our freedom all the time. We want whatever it is we fighting against to be right, so we can go and be peaceful and live with our families and do all those things.
That's
so,
right.
you know, just listening to you, it mirrors what it is that we're saying. So what can we do? Like, what can we do to help along your path? Like, you in Belize, you know, you're making this transition back and forth to America. Like, what is it that you want to see?
I want to see more people visit Belize. I want to see you guys come down to Belize, invest in Belize, you know, come down, mentor. You can mentor some girls, you can mentor some guys. You know, I want Belize to be a bridge between, you know, the United States and the Africans here and the Africans in Belize and all people in Belize.
It's the diaspora.
Yeah, you know, so I just want to see you guys, you know, because once you do that, then you're spending money, you're spending time, you're giving your expertise, you know, you're sharing, you know, your life experiences and, you know, one girl wanting to be, you know, Tamika, you know, is enough. But maybe we could get 10, 15, 20, 100, you know, all of them. I want to create a culture of empowerment where our girls and our boys believe that they're more than the current status quo. And, you know, the current status quo is if you're poor, you stay poor, you go to jail, you be a gang leader, you know, you support the gangs, and that's it. You know, I'll give you an example. They tried to recently pass a law to disqualify me from the House of Representatives, saying that if you committed a crime and you were convicted of any crime, you can't serve in the House of Representatives. They've pulled it back, but what that says is that the only people that have interaction with the criminal justice system are the poor people.
Right, so they want to try to...
Because the wealthy people could afford to get a lawyer, they're politically connected, and those charges will never even materialize. So again, it's an effort to keep you where you are, rather than opening doors, because the House of Representatives is the people's house. So everybody belongs there, but it just shows the mentality of some people. So again, I want, you know, all of your listeners to visit Belize, to invest in Belize, and let Belize, you know, be your second home. You know, that's what I want, because our GDP is driven by tourism. So the more people that visit Belize, you know, the more, but there could be other things, you know, trade, you know, I want agro trade, you know, there could be countless opportunities. You can build a movie studio down there. There's just so much to do in Belize. So I just want people to visit Belize, appreciate Belize, and that'll help with everything else.
So so you're in Belize now. You are member of the House of Representatives. You're in a political party, doing the whole thing. When do you find out that it's okay for you to return to the U.S., that you've been granted the ability to travel back?
Well, no, I'm here as a member of the House of Representatives.
Wow.
All members of the House of Representatives.
You didn't even know that at the time when you started running for office? You wasn't even thinking about that?
No.
Yeah, that wasn't even...
Because, I have a good relationship with the State Department that I've developed over the years. Yeah. But the Americans, like any other country, could decide who will enter their country and who won't. And it doesn't matter whether or not you're a member of the House of Representatives. There's certain members of the House of Representatives who can't come to the United States.
But this is one thing that America got right.
Yeah.
Like, one thing that this country has finally done
we
properly
shine back into the
is that we have allowed our brothers to come back.
So as a member of the House of Representatives, all members of the House of Representatives, get a diplomatic passport and can travel for official purposes. And so, leading up to the elections, I was telling, Diddy, I was telling everybody, what my vision is for Belize, the same way I just explained. And so, one of the asks that I made was to please put me in the room with Congressman Meeks. God bless him. He was so gracious, received me while he was voting on the John Lewis bill, voting rights bill. Congresswoman Yvette Clark, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, who's a big hip hop fan. So getting in the room with these people, not just for photo opportunities, but to have these discussions that we're having about, the Caribbean, about Belize, is very important. We haven't had an ambassador in Belize since President Obama. We've never had a president of the United States visit Belize. I hope to change that. I believe relationships is everything.
Of course.
If I don't talk to you, then if we don't communicate, how can anything happen? Yes. And so I believe, being able to get into these rooms and have these conversations can only benefit Belize. So definitely I had the vision as the elections were coming closer to start making calls and letting my guys know, Jay Prince, Killer Mike, Maxine Waters, all these people, listen, I want to set up meetings as soon as I get elected so we could talk about Belize. And so said, so done. Thank God. Erica Thomas, she's the House of Representatives member in Georgia. Senator Lester Jackson. There's a whole crew of them down there. The rebel Park Cannon. She got arrested for protesting at the governor's the governor's office.
All my peeps.
Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, man, we just want to say thank you for coming to the show, celebrating. This is your 21st year.
21st anniversary of the Shyne album.
Album.
That's not why I'm here in the States.
No, it's not. But we still listen.
Yeah.
We hip hop, man. Regardless, that's our roots.
And we want to thank Councilman Robert Carnegie, who honored me. For the fine arts, the contributions that the Shyne album. That's 21 years old.
21 years. You got a 21-year-old baby, man.
Yeah, September 26th.
Do you have babies?
I have an amazing divine daughter by the name of Naomi.
Wow.
She's 3.5, going on 16.
At least.
And my wonderful wife, Catherine, who's taking care of her. And I don't know. I guess women. Mothers, I don't know what we would do without them, because certainly,
Well, we don't know what we would do without the fathers.
Yes,
and the brave men who are out here making history. So while we're ending this, I just have to ask, because all my friends would be really upset if I did not, if I did not dig into The Voice. We've got to talk about The Voice.
The Voice, yeah.
So is that what really got you sort of noticed? Was it your voice or was it something different?
No, it was my bars.
I mean, of course the bars, but the girls are attracted to other things.
Oh,
And
you
that's
talking about
usually
how I got
Yeah.
successful, or how I got discovered to get signed?
Okay, let's see.
It's a little combination of both.
Yeah.
Let's
I mean,
let's say
I think, well, after I got signed because, even though Mike smoked me, I had them lyrics.
No, he
Still
had
had the
lyrics.
lyrics.
Yeah.
But
I was a beast.
It was a combination, and I'm gonna be honest because he had bars. Like he definitely had bars.
So like, I want to acknowledge Don Poole.
Shout out to Don.
That's my brother.
Manny Haley, Mark Pitts. So like, as soon as I went in front of them, they was like, hold up, wait, let's call Puff, let's call, and it had nothing to do with, I don't know what they was thinking. You'd have to ask them what they was thinking.
I think the voice
but
is
a
part of it.
I thought it was the bars, because
it is the bars.
in the barbershop, nobody has any foresight or vision. They just, either you whack or you not.
Or you not.
Yeah, the barbershop is the place of truth.
That's where you find out.
So in the barbershop, I was winning. I was that guy. It was like, man, listen, I'm telling you, you better than all them guys on TV.
But when did you know you had a special voice?
My father has the same voice. If you ever listen to my father speak, but I never thought I had a special voice. I just, my content. It was really about the content. It was really about lyricism, really about putting it together. And I just love music. And so for me, it was always about creating something that would live forever. And, people still love that Shyne album and that Godfather Buried Alive album. And that's what I wanted to accomplish. Like, when you listen to Only Built for Cuban Links, when you listen to The Chronic or All Eyes on Me or Doggy Style or Life After Death or No Way Out, those are albums that captured the emotions, the vibration, the frequency of that time. So you live in their moments and their truths. And regardless of whether you agree or disagree, I just wanted to be able to capture my truth and my energy and my frequency and allow you to feel me. Yeah. I always wanted you to feel me. Like I never wanted to create anything just for the sake of creating it. And so, when I got discovered, that's the energy that I came with. Like, I made you, I had such a conviction, like I could run through this wall. And so when I spit it, you felt it. So that's why I thought I
want you to know that while you was running through the wall and doing the thing, your voice was speaking to us. And you had said earlier, because I didn't know about the Tupac jail time or whatever, that maybe I'm one of the young bucks. But it wasn't so much that I was a young buck, it's that in 98, I was 18 pregnant.
You look like you're a few years older than my album.
Yeah, well, I'm not, but I was 18. I was having a baby. There's a lot going on. You know what I mean? I didn't have time to really focus as much on what was happening in pop culture, because first I was having a baby, and then 2 years later my son's father was murdered. So it was a lot happening transitionally in my life. But I know there was this guy that sound really, really good on the radio.
Amen.
So
Amen.
Listen,
thank you so much.
Listen, you heard what she said. Women get to control what's going on.
Well, Bonnie and Shyne, that's my record right there. All the guys love Bad Boys, but my favorite record is Bonnie and Shyne because that's the record that the women like. And Can't Believe with Carl Thomas.
Oh, that's a phenomenal.
And Fate. I tell you, so I went to see Jay-Z at his 18th anniversary. And so
we was all there together.
That's right.
That's right.
So listen, so before you guys came in, I walked in, right? To the back. And as I walked into the back, Can't Believe comes on. What an intro. So it was great. And I said, Hoes.
Man, to be clear, nothing happens that they don't, that's
and
accidental.
I didn't pay the DJ, because you can't pay the DJ at a Jay-Z event.
They just saw you walking down the hall.
Nah, I'm saying, listen.
He was playing it before they saw him.
Wow.
But listen, this is after you come in. You already came in. You taking your drinks. I'm just saying, the moment that I walked in, I haven't seen, Jay in years since we were in Paris. It was just a magical moment. So that's that record.
It was great to see y'all.
That's a great.
It was. I mean, y'all.
That's a great.
It was
record.
great to see you there, man. It was a dope
Poole.
event. Don Poole, everybody was there, man. Once again, man, we just want to say we appreciate you. Just listening to you and seeing how focused and how driven you are to really make change.
That's
in
right.
Belize and
That's
just,
all it's about.
You know, just to contribute your life for something. You know,
That's right.
It's a lot of people would do things for a purpose and a reason. I'm trying to get some money, and that is cool. But when you have a purpose and it's driven by just wanting to do the right thing,
right.
it's just different, and people feel that and they can see that it's authentic, man. So I want to say I appreciate you, man. The work you're doing. Celebrate that album, that Shyne album, one of my favorite albums. I remember I used to go to the studio and Shyne used to play me records, and I'd be like, "Nah, this is it. Nah, this is it." And I remember one record you was doing, right? And Puff got so mad. You played the Street Life record.
Yeah.
And I love this record, so I was like, "Yo, Shyne, this record is fire."
Yeah.
So I go somewhere else, and I forgot. He was like, "Don't tell Puff that you heard the record." So we somewhere, and I just started humming. I didn't say nothing. I was just like, I don't know what happened. I said, Street. Like, he looked at me like this.
How did you hear that? You know how he is. He wanted.
I was like, no. He called Shyne like, "Yo, you was letting him listen to the record." I was like, "Jack, my bad, Shyne. I know I was supposed to."
My brother wanted to be the one to tell everybody first. It's coming from him first. So I'm not talking about you, this brother. I'm talking about Puff. You know, he wanted to be the one to introduce it to the world.
It was a good time.
It's really, really great to see both of y'all together and to watch the chemistry and the conversation and the minds going.
And
that's
how
so
amazing y'all street politicians.
We building something
and
here,
I'm the
man.
other politician.
You're the other
but I'm
politician.
really a street politician.
You are
Exactly.
that.
That's look. 6 degrees of separation.
Right.
We just moved it to 5.
That's right.
You know?
6 feet though with your COVID.
Oh my.
All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, Shyne.
Shyne, thank you so much for
Thank you
being
for
with
having
us.
me.
That's how we own it.
So today's really turning out to be like an international show because it just so happened it wasn't planned this way. We had obviously our brother Shyne on, who we've just talked to, and I thought that was again such a great interview.
Shout out to Shyne, 21 years.
Yeah, 21 years. And now we are joined by a woman who we're just becoming acquainted with, who is in Colombia. She's a professor, a humanitarian and activist who works on gun violence there in Colombia, trying to curb gun violence and bring down the number of shootings. And she, very much so like our brother Shyne, the reason why we were able to get both of them today is because the United Nations has been meeting, and they are both attending different events and participating in the United Nations efforts. And this young woman, Dr. Lilia Solano, is actually being recognized by those individuals who are attending the open session that is happening here at the United Nations this week. So folks know that we tape our shows, and so you are seeing us sort of going back in time to come back to time. And Dr. Solano, we are so happy that you are coming to the U.S. and being a part of the efforts here to spread the message about what is happening in Colombia, but of course how it relates to what's happening here in the U.S. Mysonne and I work every single day on the issue of gun violence prevention and intervention, and really the larger conversation around peace and justice, and to have other counterparts in places like Colombia, and of course our friend who was just here with us earlier today in a place like Belize. It really is giving or showing how this is a global crisis that we are all a part of. And so we are so happy to have you with us today, Dr. Solano. Thank you for joining Street Politicians.
Thank you so much. This is a really good opportunity for me to share with you about the Colombian situation, the many challenges that especially young people, women, indigenous people, Afro-Colombians face trying to achieve a good life, a better life, dignity. So we have in Colombia this bridge between the poor and the rich. It's a huge bridge. So this, I can say this is the roots of violence. So from time to time, politicians, as the program is, street politicians came to power, but they benefit those rich and with economical and political very powerful ties.
Right.
And then the people, almost 70% of the population lives in poverty, and they struggle for education, for health, for food, for the basis, for housing. So through the years, we have this situation where the powerful controls the politics, and then they are elected to benefit these international corporations. So the people struggle so much, but it's still in the street. Many people is yelling and fighting for justice and for equality.
Well, how long have you been doing this work, Doctor?
I grew up in a poor neighborhood in Cali, in another city. I live in Bogota. I grew up, and my mother was a worker, and my grandma was a peasant. They were internally displaced by violence. So since I was at school, I learned about unjust, and I learned about the need for transformation. So I went to university, and I was trained as a humanist, but mostly as one who will fight for human rights. And in my country, that's a dangerous profession.
That's a lot.
So because of your childhood and your upbringing, you learned about justice, and you were like you wanted to get more involved, and so you started to sort of work within the community and work with people. And what did you focus on first? Was it always violence, or how did you get in to fighting for justice and the rights of those people there in your community?
Yes, I think through school years at the university, I studied philosophy, and basically we learn how to think, and then you think, and then you learn about critical thought. So I saw a reality, but then when I went to university, I confront all these intellectual theories with our realities, and ended up I find a way mixing the realities and education. So I learned to look for the roots of unjust, and especially the control of the land, the economical model, the interest of transnational corporations. So I learned to fight for the basic fundamental rights, and has been through my life that I especially in support with victims of the what we call state crimes, or crimes of economical crimes. So it's most that I focus on those kind of victims: women, Afro-Colombians, indigenous people, and youth. Since last year, a huge protest has been taking place in Colombia because the youth are without education and without house and without employ. So they just went to the street, and then they're just yelling for justice.
Protesting
and yelling
for justice. Yes.
Exactly.
It sounds so much like everything here.
That we do here.
And the model of most activists and humanitarians and people who focus on the work that we do understand that you have to get to the root cause. You have to be able to identify why is there violence? Not because people are bad people, not because they were born violent, but there's issues with society that makes people who are poor, who are hungry, who are traumatized, mental illness and everything. It makes them violent, and and it's like we're screaming this from America to Colombia to everywhere. Same conversation.
Because the reality is, there's a saying that I have and we've all adopted is that poverty is violence. And everywhere that you look where there is violence, it stems from poverty. If you go to communities where people are well-to-do and have resources that they need, you just don't see violence. You don't see even police, occupation in those communities because there's no need for that. So we understand what the correlation between violence and poverty is. Why not do what's necessary to eliminate the poverty? But unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society where people they need poverty. They need poor people because it funds these governments. All of the money that they put in and people that they pay to keep us disenfranchised, that's how the government pretty runs. That's how economics pretty much runs. The disenfranchised people are the people that they make money off of. So we understand what's going on. So, the work that you're doing is phenomenal and we truly appreciate it. I just want to ask something. They said there was a negotiation between the Colombian government and the FARC rebels that you were pivotal in, and explain to us how that came about.
Yes. Well, through the years has been a strong guerrilla armed group which was called FARC. So through the media and politicians, they keep telling us in our history that all the problems, the reason of all the problems, it was because the confrontation between the government and the left guerrilla group. So a group of people from different organizations, we work really hard to reach a peace process, a negotiation process. And then after years and years of negotiations, they come up with an agreement. So what is going on now is that both the government and the guerrilla signed the agreement, but it has been not implemented. So when they told us the problems, it was because the guerrilla was fighting. So we learned that it's the other way around, that the problems are really rooted in the economical issues, in the control of politics, and the systematic killing of opposition. So what we have now, we have an agreement that was signed but not implemented because those in power, they have, the war is a business. It's a business better than peace. So as long as they can get profit from war, well, they do implemented the war. So we struggle again and again for peace, but we say it's not any peace, it's a peace that has to be rooted with justice, with social justice, and we have to change this. In Colombia, they say if it's cheaper to buy bullets than to make a structural transformation, like education for all, health, housing, public services, that will be the best for a real democracy. Well, those in power, they say it's cheaper to kill the poor than to do all this transformation. So we all start all over again, yelling for peace and for democracy, because we don't have a real democracy. Because in a real democracy, you won't be shot for being poor. But this is a reality in Colombia. So they call it terrorists, bandoleros, vandalism. I don't know how to say.
Yeah, vandalism. Yeah, no,
And they justify in the name of those who are street robbers or street people. But the reality is internal displacement, which is huge in Colombia. Also, is executions. People has been executed, and also those who are on poverty are the greater face of the Colombian reality, and thus we are not giving up. We say whatever it takes your your life, it takes your courage, it takes whatever. So the young generation, they say, we don't care. We don't, during the pandemic, they didn't even have food in a country which have lots of foods and fruits. And so the young people say, not any longer we stand up for hunger. So we want something better. And they say, and we want it now, because has been waiting for generations and generations for this possibility to have a better Colombia. And we're still fighting for that. And in the top of that, we have international corporations' interest that always come before the national interest.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, like in Africa, we do have lots of environmental and sort of all sorts of richness, but it's go everywhere, but not here for the people.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you. You mentioned that a part of the problems that you experienced there in Colombia is also the corporate hold on society and international corporations. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then the last thing, I mean, for me, I'd like to hear about, how do people receive you? People with power, how do they receive you? Because those of us who speak like you here in America, we receive death threats. We are not always welcome in our own society because they want us to be quiet, to don't speak too much about these issues. So I wonder, do you experience the same there in Colombia? So first, the corporate piece, and then also, how what do you experience from a personal perspective being out there fighting for justice?
Yes, I can give a number of examples, but I can give one. For example, with mining, people in rich areas of Colombia where it's mining, they suffer poverty because big corporations came and take the oil and take the gold and take emeralds. So it's such a huge contradiction. But then when people protest in Colombia, it's fame that right-wing gun, I don't know how to say it, squads. So they came and joined with militaries. We call it paramilitaries, militaries and paramilitaries. One cause to eliminate people who protest, people who say no, people who is in opposition. And also, for example, big companies, they contract militaries for security, and those militaries subcontract paramilitaries. So areas of lots of wealth are controlled by these groups. So by these armed groups. And also here we have in the top of that a huge problem, and it has to be with drugs, because Colombia, sadly, is a country that grow coke. So this coke is turned into cocaine, but those who are hit the most are the peasants, the poor peasants,
the low level,
exactly. So we maybe later in another program I can explain, because I investigate those ties between these mafias in Colombia with an international agencies, for example, in your country. So these drug dealers and agencies, like they pretend to fight the drugs, for example, CIA, and then ended up there is an alliance instead of fighting against the drugs. So it's a more complicated problem. No black and white. The Colombians who grow and are drug dealers and the poor guys in the States. No, it's a huge problem. that has to be taken into account in a different way, not by criminalizing Colombians and the peasants. And in this point, it's very important that you'll know that many Colombians suffer because the demand for drugs and the poorest are hit by this kind of politics. In Colombia, they fight, North Americans fight the war against drugs, the war against terrorism, and still fight the war against communism. So by fighting these three wars, those who are hit the most are the poor, are the peasants, are the women and Afro-Colombian communities. So, and I will move to the other question that you asked me, the second one about my personal experience. I've been threat. I've been many times. I faced many times the amenazas, threats that they told me because I'm insurgent, because I fight for the poor. So I always they want you to be objective. You fight 50% for this and 50% for that. And I always say I am totally with the victims, and I don't have to present myself as an objective woman, because I fight for the rights, but especially for the social, political, and economical rights.
That's right. Okay, so the U.S. has acknowledged your work. Talk about that.
Yes, I used to say that in many moments that we will dream for a day that we will fight just for other things, not just for peace, but an international, let's say, recognition of my work as a human rights defender. In Colombia, many of us are human rights defenders. That's why this country is not in a worse shape. So, because my commitment to peace and human rights work, they recognize me in a ceremony, which will be very, very, very important for me, for the people that I work with, and also for this strong need that we have to connect internationally, because as you mentioned in the beginning, we fight for the same stuff. Right. By the end, we are in the same need of solidarity, in the same need of coming together for rights and for peace. And as much as we gather with international community, I used to say that not only represented by countries, but represented by people, by movements, by the struggle. If we join together for the struggle for peace and justice, there will be possibility for a better world. So in that sense, I'm so happy to go. I'm so happy to be a face and a voice. And we're still hoping that especially the North Americans, when they will understand the strong role they play in our countries in Latin America, but especially in Colombia, they will join for our peace, and then really will be a step ahead.
Wow.
Well, we want to thank you for your work. You know, because like you said, we do the same work over here. So to see that the same struggle exists, we know that it exists, but just hearing that there are other people who have the same passion for justice and civil rights, and just to want to see that the people are represented properly and people have a voice, you know, to be the voice of the voiceless. We wanted to say thank you, and hopefully we can connect, because it's the same exact struggle all over this world. And just keep doing the work that you're doing. It is appreciated. And we're glad that you were celebrated and continue to do what you do.
Stay safe out there. Dr. Lilia Solano,
Thank
we
you so
appreciate
much.
you coming on with us from Colombia. You stay safe and continue to keep fighting and know that you have friends here in the U.S. that are here to support you.
Yes. La lucha continúa.
Okay.
La
What do I
lucha
do? Oh, this.
Continue.
Continue.
The fight continues.
The fight continues. Take care. God bless.
That's how we own it.
Dr. Lilia.
Solano. Dr. Lilia Solano. I love her name.
Dope work, man. You know, just it's crazy just hearing that and understanding that the same exact struggle is just everywhere.
It's everywhere. And then, you know, basically what she's saying is that Colombia, unfortunately, is synonymous with this idea of like drug culture and the mafia. And it's unfortunate. And of course, the Colombian people are not. But Colombia as a country has a history of drugs and, of course, the coca, which has been turned into cocaine. That's a fact. And unfortunately, the little people that are peddlers, sellers, they are the ones that experience the, you know, enforcement, and they get arrested, they get criminalized, which I'm not saying that if you out there selling drugs that you should just be allowed to do it and it's okay. That's not the point. But nonetheless, those are the individuals that are criminalized. And the people who actually are at the highest level of it, they actually at meetings with, you know, the government of the U.S. sometimes.
And they're the main distributors. The low-level distributors are always the ones who get in the ears. These people are sitting, relaxing with millions and billions of dollars after they doing major distribution around the world. 100
but is
bricks
it distribution?
Yeah, it's definitely distribution.
But I mean, it has to be, there's a point when you're just not even, like, I'm trying to figure out, I get the distribution part. I understand, like, I'm just using a movie. Like, I see distribution on the level of what was his name? You want to rumble, you want to rumble with me. What's his name?
You want to rumble?
Scarface, right? So I understand that is the $1 million, billion dollar, but that's not what I'm talking
Frank
about.
Lopez.
So then Frank Lopez, I'm not even talking about Frank Lopez.
And then he was getting it from other distributors, the people that wanted to blow up the DA person because they were the main distributor that you never seen, that he had did the investigation on. You never seen them. They had estates in different countries. They told them they was worth 10 billion. This one was worth 100 million. These was the main players, and they was giving it.
Okay, I'm gonna go higher.
Okay, go higher.
So then, okay, that's fine. Those people are literally involved some kind of way in the distribution of drugs down through layers to the people who peddlers on the street.
That's right.
But I'm saying that there is a force, right, which I believe, unfortunately, is the government.
Of course, the thing is this.
But they're not distributors. You see what I'm saying?
No, they're not distributors. What they do is, and some of them are distributors because the government has access to the place where the coca is growing. They know the main places they're going. They own the real estate and all that. So what they do is they grow it, and they give it to somebody else and say, "Hey, we just need this amount back." Or
no, you can't say that.
Oh, no, that's what's happening.
No,
you can't say that.
I mean, I want to live in a world
where you don't.
Where we believe.
Yo, listen to me. What do you think? What is the difference between a drug dealer and Big Pharma? What you think the difference is? What's the difference? Whoa. A pharmacy sells the same drugs that you sell. They just sell in different quantities.
They'll sell crack.
No, crack. They sell the ingredients that's in crack.
No.
Yeah, you listen to me. There are drugs that you get from the pharmacy that have
maybe not crack, but I get your point.
Yeah,
heroin.
Exactly. They sell the same exact thing. So right now, people are using prescription drugs.
Right.
That's the main thing.
Give you a heroin feel.
Exactly. So the bottom line is, it comes from people. Somebody's cutting the middleman out. They like, okay, look, we're gonna take this out of here. We're gonna have this this is the street value. We're gonna do this legal, and we're gonna give this to these people because we're gonna triple and quadruple the money over here, and we still gonna
But
make.
that's against somebody needs to
It's
go to jail or
is,
something about that.
They do go to jail.
See, I'm not really educated on this, but I know it exists. But I'm just trying to say, like,
they do go to jail. The person who got caught with it over there, he can't tell you who gave it to him up there because it's way too beyond him. So by the time they catch it and like, where you got this from, he just gonna say, I got it from JoJo, who is just somebody else, and he gonna say, well, I got it from such and such, and then those people are somewhere across that they don't have no they don't have no
communication.
No, it's not communication. They don't have authority.
Oh,
they don't have
right. So the U.S.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Jurisdiction.
Exactly. They don't have the jurisdiction over where it's at, so it just stays over there. Like the reality, if you look at all of these Pablo Escobar and them, they was main people. They didn't have U.S. didn't have distribution to get to Pablo.
No, they had jurisdiction.
I mean, exactly. They didn't have jurisdiction to get to them, and they had to form all kinds of federal task force and all type of things to work with them. But there was somebody higher than him. He was paying off government officials. He literally was paying off government officials to say, yo, we're going to put this on planes. We're going to put this here. And they were just turning their head. The whole government was corrupt. The whole government was corrupt.
But those are other countries.
Exactly. And that's what.
So now I don't want to believe that my American government. So when it gets here, I don't want to believe that my American government, for the country that I fly, I don't fly the flag, but the flag is flown, and we salute the men and women.
Look at what Frank Lucas.
If
you look at
what?
Frank Lucas. He went over across seas, brought it back, paid people to put it on ships. When it got here, they paid somebody else. No, but this was the reality of what's going on. It's the same strategy. You think that boatloads, sometimes they got to catch every now
remember
and
when the bank had the tanks, or what are those things called? What are those things called? The trailers when you see them in the water.
The containers.
Okay, there you go. They had the containers in the water with all the drugs on it, and then all of a sudden it just went away. I never heard what was the follow-up, who went to prison. There's nothing.
No,
but that's not my government.
It's your government.
Oh Lord!
If you look at the Watergate scandal, it's just think about it, like, this is your government. They said that they brought drugs here to distribute. Here, like, this is documented that the government brought drugs to our communities.
I mean, okay, so I understand that, and when I see that, I see it as a lower sort of level issue.
What do you mean lower? The government said that they intentionally put drugs into our
right.
So what do you mean?
But I'm saying that okay.
I'm trying to figure out what
they put the drug. I get that. But what I'm trying to understand, so you're saying that basically somewhere in the atmosphere, a person or people that we don't really know, they are in relationship with and in bed with people from other countries, and that there is a distribution that's happening that's black market or underground. I mean, that's some deep shit.
But that is really pretty much common sense.
Wow.
People are not getting kilos. We have one of the biggest intelligence in the world. Like, they can see
and they don't know. Right. Right.
And you telling me
you running down the street from robbing a store and they like, that was Leroy.
Can follow your feet and follow where you go. But you telling me they don't see hundreds of thousands of kilos of drugs just being shipped in here every day.
But Mice, you can't sit here and tell me that Officer so-and-so who watches the screens and the things is the one that's
They catch cops every day. Every day you catch crooked cops who taking bricks or been distributed. I was locked up in jail where it was COs was literally bringing drugs to the jail. They was giving it to, and when the dude got caught, if he told on the CO would just be like, nah, this ain't. If he stopped and they couldn't did nothing, the person who got caught was the only person that went to jail. The CO, they start monitoring it and catch him. But once he knew that this person got caught, most of them just like, nah, I'm done. I'm done now. So he good. The little man is on the totem pole is the one who goes down. Just like Jamila tells about her story in the bank. They taught her how to skim the skim.
How to skim the skim.
They told her. They said, look, this is what we do. And she got caught with it. And she said, look, this is what they've been doing.
They taught her.
They
got
taught
2
me
years,
this. Look, I can show you that
14.
they did it. And they was like, nah, we good. Don't worry. We ain't worried about that. You, though, you're going to go and get this double-digit years.
I mean, I know what you're saying is right. I do. But sometimes I want to be able to feel that I just don't want to believe everything is just as bad as it is.
Well, that's what the problem is. And, you know, they said the biggest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist. And that's what we live in. We live in a matrix, right? People want to believe so much. Like the promise of freedom and all of this, we want to believe that. Like we want to believe that that's actually what the country is. We want to vote in politicians and people and say, yo, this person really could do that. But when you look at the whole infrastructure and what it's based on, the reality is that this country was never based on the principles that they trying to sell to us. It just, even if those principles actually arrive in the beloved community we have, the whole structure of this country has to fall. It's built on capitalism. Capitalism is built on poverty. It's built on there being a lower class of people who need to spend everything and funnel and pretty much fund the whole everything else. So if you eliminate poverty in the lower class, there's no structure for capitalism.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hear you, but I'm like, because when you tell me all of this, I can't, obviously there's not a machine that's doing it. There's a human that is involved
the
in
human
this.
is in
and
the
we
structure.
see these humans because they are not invisible people. Mm-hmm. They are, I mean, maybe we don't see them, but they are among the world, like us, the country. There's somebody who is responsible for this stuff. And it's real because, and the reason why, of course, it impacts us is because when you talk about Frank Lucas, it actually trickles down to mothers and fathers and children who are on drugs, who have left their families. You know, we talk about the 80s, probably the only time in history where we have watched mothers sell their babies in the ways in which happened in that era, in the crack era. I mean, this has really hurt us, and no one is responsible for it because even previous governments that have had to admit to pushing drugs into our communities, they died before there was any sort of, I want to say reckoning, but there really hasn't been a reckoning. There's just been some exposure of the truth.
Look at America and the strategy, right? When you look at tax breaks, when we talk about how Trump said he didn't
How much he paid? I don't know. It was something stupid, like $1,200.
Just think about that, right? This is a multi-millionaire, almost billionaire person who is able. He said, "I utilize the system." He knows the system. He utilized the system that was built for him to benefit him.
Yeah.
You can't utilize the system that works for him. The average person can't utilize because they don't have any resources. They don't have anything in order to utilize that. So this country is not built for the poor. It's not built for and if everybody had the same opportunities, then it would crumble. They can't. Equality does not work for capitalism. It has to have me saying I want more than you have, right? If we
and I gotta work.
I gotta work
for you.
I gotta step
and I
on
have
you.
to spend my money everywhere but in my own community.
I gotta do everything.
I gotta
possible.
get me a Louis bag and a poopy tube.
So I can say you don't have it and I do, and I'm here. And long as I keep
I like some of that stuff.
Yeah, the thing is, you like it because there was a time you didn't have it, because you see it and it's a status symbol. It represents comfort.
Actually, some of it is nice.
But the nice, what about it is nice? The niceness of it is not that it just looks. It looks nice, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you say, "Wow, it costs this," it's
costs,
a status.
Sir.
It costs. It costs.
It costs.
You understand what I'm saying? And it's a status symbol. People recognize something. It gives me some level of esteem and prestige.
No,
and
I don't say it's esteem.
You don't think so?
No esteem.
So when you buy,
because
people. So listen to me. So tell me this. When people buy $15,000 bags.
I don't have a $15,000.
I'm saying when
bag.
people, there are people who have them.
I don't
right?
have that.
Right? There are people who have $10,000 bags. People have $5,000.
You see, he try to like,
But
no, I'm gonna come to your
because
number.
I just want you.
I'm gonna get
because
on your
the bottom
page.
line is, it's not, because we understand it's a status symbol. When people say that, they go, "Whoa, that costs this." They don't look and say, "Dang, that bag is just marvelous to look at. It's the most
That's not
beautiful."
true. I don't know what you're talking about, because my bags that are expensive, I'm not gonna sit here and lie.
Do they look?
Mine are marvelous.
Can I ask you a question?
What to look at?
I'm gonna ask you a question. Are you able to say that you have bags that cost less that look better than the ones? So that's the best looking bag you've ever brought?
Yes. I would say that, and the reason why I'm saying that to you is because I'm not motivated by the same thing that other people are motivated by.
I'm gonna say
so
this.
I can
most
go to
stuff that
store,
costs a lot of money is ugly.
That's not true.
That is 100% fact.
What do you mean most?
Most of the things, listen to me, most of the things.
Why are you talking to Janice all the way over there?
I'm just being honest.
Over here.
Because I'm trying to say this. I'm just being honest.
But can I just finish
like, as
my
much
point?
as I like a Birkin bag and it's cute, I don't see nothing better than a Hermes bag that costs $5,000 less. I probably would buy that more. I look at a Louis Vuitton bag and I like the designs better than the bag that costs $15,000 to $20,000.
But
I've seen bags. I've watched bags that cost $200 that I've looked.
No,
that
you
look better.
lie.
I'm just saying. I'm talking about visually.
I'm gonna go. I understand.
Visually.
Listen. First of all, I'm the expert on this issue here. Okay.
I'm just
and
saying.
let me
you
just
can't
say
be an expert on how something looks to me. Let me
just say.
How can somebody else be an expert on how something looks to you?
Let me just say. Mm-hmm. I am definitely a high-low shopper, right? So I got stuff that is all different types of prices, and I have things that have no name that are very, very nice, and it doesn't matter, and we can all do that, right? So I agree with you, but you're not about to sit here and tell me that my Birkin is not as fancy as something that I also have in my closet that's $200. You're just not gonna tell me that.
That's your personal opinion, and I can say that I don't agree, right? My thing is this. This is what I'm gonna say. There are things in our society, right, that probably cost more than a Birkin, or cost less, right? But right now, the Birkin is the status symbol. There are things that we don't know nothing about that people have seen that cost more or cost less that just look beautiful, and most people don't go get it. If you look at the bags that most people have,
that's not true.
Okay,
that's not true.
So tell me.
Yes, there's
do you have?
There's trends.
I'm just gonna ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you know people within the circle that buy off-name bags that just look cute?
Yes. You want to know what the new bag is that we buy? That is not as no. You don't even know what I'm. Everything has a name.
But that's what I'm
if you go get you a Conway bag, it's got a name. It's the Conway bag,
no.
and you feeling the Conway bag.
I don't know what the name of this is.
But that's what I was getting ready to tell you. The Protect Black People bag, which Dwana Thompson bought me one, and I see Black people wearing them all over. It is not a big, it's not a Birkin. No, it's not. And of course, I understand the point of what you're saying, but I'm just telling you that is a bag that people have bought that is not a major $10,000 brand that Black women really like.
I'm just saying. I don't see an advertiser worn.
Yeah, no, of course you don't see Birkins advertised.
It's in every song in the world. Every video
well, that's
they're
true.
talking about.
I was thinking about a different type of advertisement. All I'm saying is that, first of all, we as Black people deserve luxury, which I don't think you're saying we don't. We deserve luxury. And when I walk into a store, if I'm looking for something that I need to wear to a nice event, I don't have a problem with the H&M dress that is just fabulous. And I have pictures. I can pull them up and show you that there's been my H&M dress. Now my H&M dress might be mixed with, a lube shoe, a red bottom, or something like that. But I still know how to mix it all in. And I think it's all about your taste and your fashion, your style, and where you're going to find the best types of things that help you feel confident in self. But it's not, I'm going to go to the store and no matter, because there are people out here like that. No matter how ugly it is or how unattractive it is, I don't like to use the word ugly, but no matter how unattractive it is, I'm going to get it just because everybody else is getting it. That's not me. And most of my friends, they don't shop like that.
This, right? I'm just
But
saying.
I do need another Birkin.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm just messing with you.
I'm just saying tags and labels are pretty much what defines most of the things, right? And that's the era we in, and that's how pretty much life is, right? And what's high end and what's high end is something that's celebrated. So when we bring it back to what we were talking about, those at the top are people that are celebrated. They're not gonna get locked up. They're not gonna get
Face any consequences.
And talking about drugs, it brings me to my I don't get it. Which we did. We might never have enough time for this. I don't get it. But where do they make K2 at? First of all, who knows where they make it?
I don't know, but it's some research that need to be done.
Because listen to me, I have seen in the last couple of days and weeks, I've seen the effects of K2 that are just unbelievable. Like it's a phenomenon to me. I've watched people on the corner go through whole routines as if nobody else is there. Like
that when they're high.
You've
seen this before though, because
I've
when you
seen
think
it,
about
but
the
right
heroin
now,
epidemic.
No, heroin epidemic is just they're nodding. I've seen, they're nodding, they almost falling.
Yeah, it's
they
the same
almost
thing.
No. A K2 person is
that's true. They do a little more.
Completely in another world. He is in another world.
She.
They are in completely a whole nother world. They're so far from themselves that it is unbelievable. Like it is like
because
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Because you and I and Angelo. Okay. Because Angelo and I just sat the other day after leaving your meeting, and we watched these three people do some real strange things in the street.
It was thing, and I just don't get it. I don't get how is it even legal? Like
why are they selling it?
You can literally buy K2 at a regular store.
Yeah.
And this is unbelievable. Like it's probably more dangerous than the rest of the drug. I don't see a drug that is more. It may be as dangerous as K2, but I don't see a drug right now that I've seen that has the effect on people that is worse than K2.
Yeah, no, it's
and
serious.
I really just don't get it, man. Like somebody need to tell if y'all
why
viewers
sell that
why
in
they
the
sell
store.
it.
It's
tell me where does it come from?
They say it's sort of like potpourri. You know how they used to sell the potpourri? Well, they still sell potpourri, I'm sure, but that's what it is. It's
so
synthetic.
They smoking potpourri?
It's basically something like that. It's like potpourri. And
So
shout out to Victoria Pinnell and Mary Pinnell, our friends in the movement. They've been on this fight against K2 for a long time, for many years. In fact, a lot of people, what's his name? I can't think. It's another guy that is not coming to my head. And then, of course, Kirsten John Foy. There's been a number of leaders that have been on this K2 issue for years. Because at one point, now for people who are listening that don't live in New York, if you could just for a moment really think about this. There is a street in New York City, which is Lexington Avenue and 125th Street.
Down to about 23rd, all the way down.
About two blocks. And there's a shelter that's right in the middle of it that when
it used to be a Pathmark there, they didn't shut the Pathmark
which was
down.
Pathmark would be a supermarket. But there was a shelter that was there too many years ago. And they gave the top part of the shelter to my youth group at the time, the Youth Move, which was through the National Action Network. So we used to be there every Friday and Saturday doing our work in a shelter that was full of people who were addicted to all kinds of things. So we got to see up close and personal. And to your point, still never did I see people that look like they look on the K2.
Nope.
So at the corner stores, this is if for people who are listening, you don't know 125th Street, and of course for people who do, you know exactly what we're talking about. There's 4 corners, and at least 2 of the corners have stores, regular bodegas as we call them, right? Which is that's the little street, the little corner store where you go get all your stuff, your quick purchases.
Yep.
The store was selling it over the counter. But they say cigarette. There's so many people they sell cigarettes, they sell they sell beer, the liquor store sells liquor. All these things are killing people. So that's the balance of the conversation. They there's a bunch of stuff that we sell everywhere that's killing people.
That's a whole nother conversation because I'm ready about to go there. I'm not even gonna have that conversation. But
6 feet. That's all I'm gonna say.
Whatever.
But I'm just saying, and it's not just, it's a lot of things that it's being sold. Exactly. But to your point that you're not getting into is that there are multiple things that in our society is being sold.
That killer.
That's harming people.
Yeah.
Right? And so folk feel like why they can't sell the K2?
Legally? You can't just walk in the store and even buy weed. They ain't got weed over the counter in the bodega.
They don't sell crack.
You can't sell crack over the. They ain't selling no heroin needles over. They ain't selling. You know what I'm saying? 30s over the counter. They not selling. They just not selling it.
You know a little bit, a lot, too many things.
Listen,
about this
man,
culture.
I wasn't always an activist.
And this is true.
You know what I'm saying? So,
well, I think we have covered a lot.
I think we covered too much, man.
It's just because there's so much to cover.
It's just way too much, man. Shout out to our guest. Shout out to Shyne. 21 years for the Shyne album, the anniversary. Shout out to him for coming up. Shout out to Dr. Lilia
Solano
for her humanitarian work that she does in
Colombia, yes.
And everywhere. And shout out to everybody who's been watching and downloading the podcast. We moving up to number 1. We appreciate y'all.
I shouldn't be laughing because we do need to move up to number 1.
We are, though.
But it's funny because,
No, it's not funny. I don't see where the joke is. Number 1.
We
number
are
1 podcast in the world.
Number 1 in our heart.
We appreciate y'all. Make sure that y'all keep tuning in. Let us know what y'all want to hear. Tell us you like us. Tell us you love us. Tell us you don't like us. Just give us some feedback.
You don't like us. Just turn to the next. Just go to the next podcast.
Tell me you don't like me. I can take it. Man. But we appreciate y'all.
We can.
And as always, I'm not going to always be right. Tamika's going to be wrong most of the time. Sometimes she might be right. But we will both always, and I mean always, always, always be authentic.
Peace.
That's how we own it.
Listen to Street Politicians on the Black Effect Network on iHeartRadio.
And catch us every single Wednesday for the video version of Street Politicians on iWomen.tv.